and see what he has to say about the next format. Yo, hello. How's it going, friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Just theorizing next format. Branded still best deck.
Brandon's still the best deck. Yeah, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. But first of all, Nightfall, why don't you introduce yourself to the people at home?
Hey guys, I'm Nightfall. You probably know me from playing DB a lot. I was like first last format with Branded, and you probably see me on like the DB Grinder channel, playing Branded. Cooking with it. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. And of course, Nightfall also has a YouTube channel now. So I'm going to link that in the description. And if you're watching this, stop what you're doing right now and go subscribe. And then come back here and continue the video. So
Yep.
we're going to be talking a little bit next format. We're not going to be like dueling or anything. We're going to be theorizing, like Nightfall said, trying to break down the next format and what needs to happen. I'm going to share my screen with Nightfall and obviously show to you guys as well my last list before Legacy of Destruction. So I want us to have like a little bit of a discussion with the people at home and maybe also build a deck for the next format. This is obviously probably a pretty good start. This is the last deck that I played in the last regional in Phantom Nightmare format, which Nightfall helped me with a lot. We discussed a lot of things before that tournament, and the Book of Eclipse, for example, those kind of things. Like this is all like good suggestions that came up. But when you're trying to break down the format now, before like it's begun, we started the Legacy of Destruction format. The set is out. It's legal. It's also out on DB. How are you approaching like building to this format?
So right now, I think it's the beginning of the format, and I think a lot of people will just pick up Tenpai just because it's cheap, and obviously like the deck is, yeah, it's very easy to play. And I think like the way I'm gonna build for format, like at start, like I'm not sure how the next weeks will develop, but I think like Tenpai won't be like Snake Eye, like it's 70-80% representation. It will fall down a bit,
Yeah.
but I think like the format right now will be like it will be like a Snake Eye, Tenpai, a bit of Voiceless. Like I think the new decks like Melodious and Yubel like are still to be experimented with.
Yeah.
I think they will be good like later in the format, but not at the beginning. So yeah, it's basically the same format. It's just you approach more for Tenpai Dragons because it will be like seen a lot. And yeah, obviously against Snake Eye, it's basically the same.
Yeah. I think Voiceless is getting new support. Just one card that is really good. Honestly, like it's got a new ritual card as well, but the continuous is pretty solid. I think I also agree. Tenpai is the deck that people want to play, and it might confuse some people because it's gonna be. It might be played more than it's actually good, even though it's a pretty scary deck. I think it's currently, as I'm seeing like new replays and gameplays, it's starting to scare me a little bit more because I can see that it can be pretty versatile in the hands of a solid pilot.
It's actually a really good deck because like one card actually does a lot. One card just OTKs you instantly,
Yeah,
which is kind of crucial. And the deck just plays like 22 non-engine, I think, and prosperity is like 25, and it can OTK through prosperity, which is insane.
yeah,
And it's like I think like a lot of people will pick it just because it's like very easy to play, and like I don't think there's much difference between a good Templar player and like the guy who picked it up recently. Maybe it's like I don't think there's just that much difference.
yeah. I think it obviously depends on like how well you can play into a board. I think that one thing that I saw in I think it was your replays versus Tenpai on the DB Grinder channel. The fact that it's kind of risky for Tenpai to let Branded go first. If you're not like aware at home and you're listening or watching this, Tenpai usually will want to blind second because the deck's main power is just like FTKing you with tons of damage. So letting Branded go first with the fact that Albion and Gimmick Puppet Nightmare still exist, even though they play cards like Droplet, is still pretty risky, right?
Yeah, it's kind of risky. Like you need actually, I think like most Tenpai players just play a lot of hand traps. I have been seeing like people doing the board breaker approach, and like obviously they're not like the best. They're good, but like they're not the best. So like if you resolve puppet lock, like you just win the game against Tenpai,
Yeah.
and it's like pretty easy to set up. So yeah, I think like the hand trap variant is like probably the way to go for Tenpai. But even then, like I think most of the time to two hand traps, I can easily like set a puppet lock, like even Ash included. Like that was my personal experience with it.
Yeah.
But the deck is like scary if you don't set a puppet lock for me because like two engine cards, actually if they open the field spell and like another engine card, it's pretty scary because they can make the super transcendent dragon or meteor burst
Yeah.
that are unaffected in main phase, then they just go battle phase and just OTK you, and you cannot do anything about it. So yeah, puppet is like kinda you have to set a puppet if possible, or just have to like have enough resources to remove the field spell.
Yeah, that's also another thing that we're probably going to talk about of like how to approach building versus Tenpai. Obviously, one card that I personally ran for a while was Borrowed Furious Dragon. It's obviously an exceptional card, I think, but also there were builds that were playing like Magnum the reliever, so it's going to be pretty easy to make the call when you're playing against Tenpai. Okay, so you win or lose the die roll, doesn't matter. They let you go first. Probably the highest priority is establishing Gimmick Puppet, right?
Yeah, I think like how I approach the board is like I always try to play around Dash first. Like in this build, in my build, it's pretty easy with high spirits. Like most of the time, even I add high spirits like before branded fusion, and then it's like pretty easy to like do a lot like than the normal setup, like Albion and branded loss. Like most of the time, I do that setup and more. It's like Cartesia. I have the gimmick puppet. I have the branded in red. So in the world, like gimmick puppet doesn't resolve with like they have double bestial, for example. Yeah, they have like
Droplet.
away yeah, droplet.
Yeah.
There's like still a lot to do. Like I still will have either Cartesian on board, or if it doesn't get dropleted, I can just go Cartesian, make Magnum or Boreload. Or
Yeah.
if they have bestials, they are not unaffected, so it's pretty easy to just activate Ringbroom Engrave, then special summon the Albas, and like fuse away one of the bestials make Boreload. So yeah, I think it's like pretty versatile what you can do with this deck. But how I approach Tenpai right now is just I try to end on as much as possible. I just try to end on like branded lost as well, but like branded in red as well with Quem and Cartesian on board and Albas in grave, which may seem a lot, but actually it's like three card combo, which is
Yeah.
not a lot for branded because
Yeah.
you play a lot of.
Exactly. You have like High Spirits and Albion. The fact that you play like three of each, I'm not. We're gonna talk about the build in a minute, but the fact that you play so many engine cards that are so versatile means that you can usually in any game you can get to like a 2 card combos most of the time, 3 card combos also like pretty consistently. And I think it's important for people like a lot of people in the comments have asked me like how do you play against Tenpai? I think this is the perfect video for that. Hearing the theory from Nightfall, but also considering that he's also coaching. So if you need a coaching session, I think that would be like ahead of the next format. Brandon is going to be a pretty solid option. So if you want to invest in like understanding the theory a little bit better, then make sure to follow his content as well. One more thing that I haven't really thought about like deeply, I haven't really tested for the new format so much, but the fact that you can also deal with the field spell with Branded now pretty consistently, with just like removal cards, Chimera, Magnum, Borrowed Furious, it should probably be a priority for you. I think Branded in red should also like could also like bait Bestial or something in some cases. And then when you don't have the field spell, it becomes much, much more manageable. Even if you don't manage to puppet lock, it's still like, you know, it's a deck
Yeah,
of dragons and synchros, right?
yep. I actually found like a few texts like that you can access through engine, which actually help you that much up a lot. Like I'm gonna share like a few of them right now.
Yeah.
So the first one everyone knows like from a few formats, but it's like the zombie world and the banshee. So like if you set up zombie world, the field spell makes the dragons not unaffected.
Mm-hmm.
Like because it turns them into zombies and like they are not unaffected anymore. And the good thing about banshee is like if they activate lightning storm, like they will activate Lightning Storm and then you activate Banshee Grave, like when they start summoning cards.
Yeah.
And then it's pretty hard for them. Like the only, I think, like even the all the Tenpai dragons required, the Synchro dragons required for them to have a dragon as material. I think like the only threatening thing, like I could be wrong about that, is like Black Rose Dragon to summon to like clear the zombie world, but they need to invest a lot for that. Like the next one is like this actually is actually an a pretty funny one, but it's like I think Kang shared it on Twitter, so shout out to Kang as well.
Mm.
It's like the Archwind card and the Simos Archwind and the card that searches it.
Yeah. I think it's Simul Archfiend is
Yep.
interesting. I
Yeah,
think this was a card from Photon Hypernova or something, which
yep.
also was interesting. It says this turn, neither player can special summon monsters with the same card types, Ritual Fusion, Synchro, or Caesar Link, they already control. So that means if you're playing against Tenpai, you activate this, and if they already control a Synchro, they can't summon more Synchros. So they're basically stuck on the two they have, and they can't kill you. And the one um, that is Archfiend. Let's see if I can
Yeah,
find it.
yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Like
there
the
it is,
third.
the Empress. So when this card is destroyed, so how do you
No, no,
trigger this?
no, it's like the third row second card. It's
Oh, it's this.
Archfiend.
Sorry,
Yes,
Eris.
yes.
Add one Archfiend card. So you send this with Branded Fusion as a dark target, and it adds Seymour Archfiends.
Yeah, this card basically just FTK is branded. So like if you resolve branded fusion, basically you just end on Mirror Jade out like the barrier. Like you said it and you're chilling. Like they cannot kill you, so next turn you just play with like 5 cards and Mirror Jade gives you a follow-up, which is insane.
Yeah, so it's basically a turn skip for them. It's sort of like searching a debarrier ish, but it's also
Yep.
more versatile because they can't, even if they start linking, they can't link any further, right? So it's stuck. It sticks them into like, but it also affects branded a little bit, right? You can't fusion summon anymore.
Yeah, the way you do this combo is like you just do Mirror Jade when you're passing. Like at this point, you're not scared of Tenpai OTKing you anymore. You're just
Yeah,
building follow-up for
because if you
next turn.
resolve this, you live, and that's enough.
Yeah, you just basically play with the follow-up. Yep.
Yeah. So what else is kind of spicy right now that you're willing to share?
I was like testing Super Poly again a bit with like Garur. I guess that's not spicy anymore.
Yeah.
It's like standard, but I cut it from my list, so like I consider it. But yeah, also I'm like play testing another card. Yeah, it's Super Poly. I wanna like share this one. It's the Alba Lenatus.
Yeah.
Actually, this card has more uses than for Tenpai. I use it also against Snake Eye, like because like also Flame Birch and like the Dispater and the Hot Red are Dragon. So
Yeah.
one Albas just clears this. Like you just set Albas and like nobody will expect it at the beginning. You just set Albas and then you'll contact away the Flame Birch and the Dispater. Sometimes they won't even like Flame Birch summon IP because they'll be scared of Super Poly perhaps.
Yeah.
It's like 50-50 on that one. It's mind game, but it's pretty good because one Albas clears a lot. Also, this card, if they don't SP the Albas, you can just clear Apollousa for free because Apollousa most of the time is 24.
Yeah. So Albalenodus, for those who don't know, because this card has been very unpopular throughout most of its existence. Very like sometimes it's like a little bit niche. But the interesting thing about this card that you might not know is that you can basically contact fuse with this card, which means that you have an Albas on the board, and you don't have to activate polymerization. You don't have to activate anything. It's sort of like an underworld goddess scenario where you just send Albaz and all the other dragon monsters on the field to the graveyard instantly. It doesn't start a chain, and it just removes them by using them as fusion material. And this card can attack multiple times. It can attack based on the number of materials that it had, which could come up sometimes. Especially if I remember when Dragon Link was like a thing, making like a Queritus that can zero out like a Borland dragon that cannot be destroyed by battle, and then just
Yep.
making an Albalenodus that can attack like 4 times and
Yeah.
just
Oh yeah.
swing into it 1,000 times
Oh
and
yeah.
just
That's
kill.
pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was pretty funny. Yep. So yeah, that's also like another good option you can consider.
yeah,
It's 50-50 against Snake Eye, but I think also this card is good. Like obviously it uses away the in their battle phase, but I was having an issue in testing like to out Seal and Crystal Wink with some hands.
yeah,
And like I was realizing every time I open Albas, I just set it and just contact fuse away and just make this guy, which
yeah.
is like insane.
That's pretty crazy. So like, let's look. We don't have to like build a full deck list, but let's clear out the side deck, for example.
Yep.
What do you think changes in the main deck that doesn't really exist here now? Like, what build would you prefer to play? There's obviously like a smaller build like we saw in YCS Rally from Clifton, which was like a very slim build. He didn't believe in the 3 Albions.
Mhm.
We have the 50, which is like the Nightfall approach, I would say, because this is what I've been seeing you play a lot. And then there's like the 60 card, Allure, Poly, Patchwork, stuff like that. What would you say is the best approach for the format in your mind right now?
So honestly, I think I tested also the 60 card variants. I think it's good, but my problem was I like against like a random decks. I just don't see my side deck often enough. Like there's cards like Shifter. I need to see like certain side deck cards for this. Like sometimes you win, but sometimes you just. I just like to see my side deck cards and like the difference between 60 and 50. It's minimal. Like you just add the patchwork engine basically. 60
Yeah.
cards, you just add the patchwork engine. But the problem with the patchwork engine is, I think, from the YCS, everyone was main decking draw. I think, like most Snake Eye lists.
And this is
So I
why I
don't.
also didn't play it in my last tournament.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like the thing is, deck is doesn't die to draw unless you play this card in Allure. Like you just the only cards that out are like Allure and Trust, which is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, and you
You just
sometimes don't expect the draw because this deck naturally doesn't lose to draw. And the way I always keep reminding myself about draw, if I have a way to like summon the branded fusion search should be the first thing that you do always. Um,
yep.
no matter what, you can protect with like deployment into Cartesia. If you have a way to dump things to the graveyard with Albion, it's fine to get drolled on the Albion as long as you can grab the fusion from the graveyard. But some hands in the 60 card build, you will have like, let's say, Mercurier and Allure of Darkness, which is a great combination. But then you get drolled on the Allure, and you need to be kind of creative. And like, the deck doesn't inherently lose to draw, but it definitely can lose to draw.
Yeah, I think like the turbo hands just lose to draw.
Yeah.
Like it's good to open, and also the problem I had with this build was like when I played multiple tragedy and like the one Mercurial, less if I don't draw them with like poly or allure specifically, they were kind of bricky in my hand, and like I would rather play cards that like extend my game through hand traps and like through interruptions.
Yeah.
Like like in the last form there were like omni negates that like negate the poly and maybe the allure. Like smart players would just negate your draw cards or like draw you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like one is correct for now. Like one tragedy without allure. If you play allure, you have to like bump up the number, of course.
Yeah.
But I think it might be specifically if I were to play allure, I would just bump up the Mercurier. A tragedy is just better with like opening, for example. But like I would rather like banish Mercurier than tragedy because Mercurier can just search more cards than tragedy,
Yeah.
which is like versatile.
That's true. You can search Albion, Quem, Cartesia, and Albaz itself, which is always worth it.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that sounds good. Do you think like this build kind of changes a lot from the format? Obviously, the side deck choices are different. But do you think the main deck changes a lot?
Not really. Like I think it's literally more or less my same build right now. It's like the one on the screen. Like it's still a hand trap format, and I don't think like you should play anything specific game one for Tenpai.
Yeah,
Like I think it's just the same format but Tenpai for now. Maybe later on I'll change it a bit, but I think it's like still 50-ish cards. Like if I every time I try to play it 40, I just miss like a lot of the cards in my 50 card build. So
yeah,
it wasn't in my play style, but it's definitely possible to play 40. But I just like to have the options to like play the game.
yeah, for sure. And if you guys at home want us to do more videos and maybe go over some builds, then let us know in the comments, of course. Nightfall, I don't want to make this video too long, and this has been extremely helpful. I can honestly hear you talk for like an hour. But this is like, guys, if you want this kind of expertise and knowledge, turn to Nightfall for branded coaching. So, any closing words for the people watching us, thinking about playing branded in the next format?
So yeah, if you like want to like get better, like you can contact me on Twitter and YouTube, of course. Like, and yeah, the deck like you get better with practicing. Like this is the only deck you need to like actually have experience to like play it at its highest level.
Very high ceiling, but also you need to have like rounds with this deck. This deck doesn't come free out of the box. It has a million lines of play like every hand, so you need to have some experience with that. Nightfall, thank you so much, dude, for hanging out with us, sharing some knowledge. It's been a pleasure, and everybody at home, thank you so much for watching this video. Leave a comment down below. Of course, don't forget to like, check out Nightfall's channel and Twitter. It's going to be in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.